and are taking on an identity that others want to impart on them in order to make them feel lesser than, right?
Mhm.
So it's about empowering you to feel confident in who you are and showcase the beauty of where you're from. Fight in Africa. Here we're looking at anti-black racism. There we're fighting a whole different battle. But
I
advocacy.
Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to the Nana Yaa Yeboaa podcast. Today, I have a beautiful young lady with me in the studio, Efia Tekyi-Annan. Efia, welcome to the Nana. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah.
Medase babre, right? Medase.
Yo, Bate.
Yes.
Welcome to the Nana Yaa Yeboaa podcast. So, Efia Tekyi-Annan is a social entrepreneur and advocate. And also, you are a cultural leader. So we'll be talking a lot of stuff about the intersection of society as Black people, advocacy in the terms of
Mhm.
DEI, and culture, keeping our cultural identity, what it looks like, what it means for us, and how it transforms us in this life. So Efia is a dedicated social entrepreneur and advocate committed to uplifting Black communities. She's the founder of Roots of Empowerment. Hey, Roots of Empowerment, empowering Black youth through identity affirming programs, and African royalty, celebrating African heritage through cultural products and workshops. Now, I'm not going to give you all the bio. Efia is going to supplement and tell us who is this beautiful
Thank you,
young
thank you, thank you, thank you.
lady.
Hey, young. Ha! Thank you. Hey.
I
Thank you.
see you really working hard, and I must commend you. That is what
Appreciate that.
drew you to me, drew my attention. That it's like this is a beautiful young Black lady doing things that many will expect other people to do, but she's taking on the reins to do that. Welcome once again to the Nana Yaa
Thank
Yeboaa
you. I
podcast.
appreciate it. Thank you for giving me your time and your platform. I appreciate it.
And thank you for saying yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Anytime, yes.
Yes, Efia. So let's get into it. So for those who don't know, and anywhere you see the name Efia or Efua, you are
Yeah.
a Friday born.
Friday. Proud Friday born.
Yes,
Efia Sechua.
Efia Sechiwa.
Yeah.
So do you know the meaning of Sechiwa?
So Sechua was given to me as my father named me from his father. So Sechi being the male version and Wa being the female version. So my understanding is that it comes from my family name. I know that other maybe Fantis also carry that name, but it was a
Hmm.
family name given to me.
Okay. I don't know the meaning of Sechi,
Yeah.
but with every Akan name, there is a deeper meaning too, or the
Yes.
story of how the name came about. So
Yeah.
that's why I asked that question. Yes. So what's in the name? Your name carries a lot of meaning, and
Yes. My ancestors, the history behind my name, what my family has done, and all of that is within me, and it's up to me to carry on that legacy and
yes.
leave things for my children also to carry forward. So it's something I take very seriously.
So you live your life in purpose and intentionality.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your community engagement and advocacy whilst we're on the building legacies.
Yeah. I do a lot of different things. I started advocacy has been something I've always done, community engagement stuff. My parents were both TDSB teachers, so Toronto District School Board teachers. And so going through school, I grew up in an area that was predominantly white. And so there was a lot of advocacy my parents had to do for me and my siblings. So I'm one of four. I'm the middle child, second born. You know what that comes with, but yeah. So um, they did a lot of advocacy. They were very vocal.
Mm-hmm.
As outspoken people, but also knowing the education system, knowing that
Yes.
their children were potentially being railroaded, or there
Mm-hmm.
was injustices. So I first came to understanding what advocacy was through my parents, and knowing that I had to find my own voice. And then now as a parent, also having to do that for my children, but then also feeling responsibility for the Black community. I like to say, as Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody Black. So for me, it's not just about my children, it's about the community children, going back to African centered thinking, right? It's the community. It's not just my child that I birthed, but the other Black child that's there that I'm also responsible for as a Black woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my advocacy really began in a means of finding my voice for myself, but now becomes something that I feel like I have to do for our community.
Nice. Thank you. Aside from this community thing, also, you also have a business. You are a CEO, a boss
Yes. Yes,
lady.
me.
Yes. And it's called African Royalty. Why in
Yeah.
the name African Royalty? What do you want it to represent, or what does it represent for you?
So let me first off by saying that like I would never call myself a small business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an idea
Yes.
person. So African royalty is probably about my fourth business idea. And I started this back, it will be 11 years this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with a trip to Ghana. And going to post office, a Poku Trading Center in Kumasi,
Mm-hmm.
and buying things to bring back to my friends and saying, hey, like, there's money here, Skawo. Like, let me go and let me sell some of these things. So it started off with wanting to bring the culture of Ghana back to North America where I live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, and showcase it. So this was 11 years ago. So, I was really young. Um, and I just wanted to spread my culture. So African royalty was born from that. As Africans, we are royal, and I want the Black people in the diaspora to kind of remember themselves. I find that the other Black people I live around over here on the West have lost this connection to where they're from and are taking on an identity that others want to impart on them in order to make them feel lesser than, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about empowering you to feel confident in who you are and showcase the beauty of where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the meaning behind African royalty, and it's evolved. As you guys can see, I know I'm into apparel.
Okay.
So this is one of the pieces. It's a sweater that has African royalty with the outline of Africa with kente print. And it was
Yes.
very important to me because kente print is one of the staple pieces of African culture and identity. And if you see it anywhere, any African, for the most part, can identify it as an African fabric. And that's what I want. I want people to be proud of themselves and represent who they are without even having to open their mouth. It's on
Mm-hmm.
who I am. It shows, and me as a person just embodies me. If you ask anyone around me, I'm everything Africa. I'm everything Africa. So all the businesses and everything that I'm opening now has something to do with that, and I've kind of
Mm-hmm.
become the person that people go to when they want information about, okay, I want to do this in Ghana, I want to travel to Ghana, what is this like, what can I do here,
Mm-hmm.
I want to purchase this. They come to me. And it's crazy because all of this began really in high school when I started selling cupcakes and
Yes.
chocolate lollipops as an entrepreneur. It was called Efia's Cupcakes and Things. And I was selling,
Hey.
hey,
Okay.
I was baking stuff and bringing it to school to sell to my teachers and my classmates. And then
Mm-hmm.
somebody went and told the principal. So that business had to end. But it's okay. That was my first introduction to entrepreneurship. So
That's good. That's good. So
yeah,
you got a hustler in your blood.
I'm telling
You
you.
pure Ashanti woman. You got it in your
Ah,
blood. I
yes,
say
yes, yes.
Asante kotoko ukuma pema pembeba.
Ish, ish. You see? So yeah, it's in me. My mom also used to have her own store. My grandma used to go to Obuasi where her family's from, and
Mm-hmm.
bring things and sell outside their house. So it's really and truly within me to be a hustler, to be a businesswoman,
Yeah.
and just do all of those things while also being a mom. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Nice. So let's talk about this, the state of our Black communities and social justice, because that is one, aside from the business aspect, you are truly, involved in our
yeah.
community with roots of empowerment. Um, in your experience, what are the biggest challenges facing our Black communities now?
Loss of identity. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know who we are, and therefore it's impossible for us to mobilize together. Um, we are all working, and those who are aware of themselves, we're all working in silos. So um we could be doing great work, but because we're doing it individually, you and I could be
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing. Instead of us to come together and team up, we are doing it individually, and it makes it harder. And two great minds that come together can make a beautiful thing, a bigger beautiful thing, but we don't do that for the most part. you know and we have to understand that whatever's going on in our society, those in power are never going to give us the tools we need to dismantle their power, to get rid of
Mm-hmm.
oppression.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes us coming together and building up our own communities to actually break free and get us to a point where we're not begging for mercy. We're not begging for civility. We're not begging um, to be treated as human beings anymore. We are doing our own things for ourselves, building our communities for us, by us. And I think these are things that the Black community has to be thinking about. Um, so right now, yes, it's a loss of identity, not understanding who we are as a people, how to truly work together in a meaningful way that is pushing us forward, right? And there are people doing this work. There, I won't say nobody's doing it. There are people who are really doing this work to connect us all. But I think for the most part, we all need to come together and think about it. And then there's just people who don't feel like this affects them, whether that's because they have another intersectionality where maybe money makes them feel like they aren't as vulnerable to some things that maybe somebody who doesn't have money is accustomed to. Maybe they feel as though the people around them who are non-blacks make them feel like they belong, so they can't
Mm-hmm.
understand the racism or things that others are going through, the anti-black racism that others are going through. And so there's so many things that divide us, or that we allow to divide us, when there's so even more things that should bring us together,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
So there needs to be a really a deep dive into mindset revolution to break that down. Well, that means we have a lot of work to do. You and I, you do yours, I provide a platform, and then we have these
absolutely
critical conversations. And hopefully, the listeners and the viewers will get something out
inspired to
of it.
do it. Yeah,
Exactly,
absolutely.
will be inspired. And like you said, connect with each other because we cannot continue to work in silos. Divided, we conquer. Together, you are strong.
Absolutely.
I will not do proverbs today. Otherwise, the whole conversation will be full of African and Akan proverbs.
Yes, yes, yes. But it's actually very powerful. So I encourage others to go through. That's part of Roots of Empowerment. We teach
Mhm.
through proverbs, storytelling, and that's how we as Black people, as Africans, understand things, right? So it's a beautiful thing. And there's a proverb for everything, like you can imagine.
Yes,
So, as you
yes,
know,
yes.
so yeah.
That's beautiful. Um, let's talk about the Black youth movement that you doing. What is the name again? I know it's
So the work that I'm doing now,
yeah,
the
the
organization,
organization Black Lives
oh, Black Lives for Change.
for Change. Yes,
Yes. So I
yes,
actually
yes.
co-founded that in
Mm-hmm.
2020 with the murder of George Floyd. We were all at home when
Mm-hmm.
we saw on television the senseless murder of a Black man who was in distress. And um, I had a gym where I was going. Our trainer said, "We're going to go and do a march downtown." And we
Yeah.
got as we were going down there, she says to me, "Oh, I need you to lead it, by the way." And I'm looking at her like, "Huh? Like you didn't tell me nothing. We get down here." But I said, "You know what? Cool. Like this is not nothing new to me. I got this." So we get down there. I grab the megaphone, and I'm leading the march.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ran into this gentleman that I knew from around the way. He used to come by the barbershop where I used to work, and he was down there for another protest. There was a lot of protests going down in Toronto that time. And
Yes.
he came and we had a conversation, and we said, well, we live in York Region
Mm-hmm.
and we need to do this in York Region as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because York Region, the fight there for Black people for the most part is anti-Black racism. That's what I faced my
Mm-hmm.
whole life, right? So there's different fights for Black people, right? Um, with the work that I was doing in Toronto, it was more of the community safety aspect of it. But the work I was doing in York Region was about anti-Black racism, more so.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we need to bring this to York Region. So we came together, created a group. I think at first we called it Vaughn We Stand.
Mm-hmm.
We connected with other social justice groups in New York Region, and an Italian girl doing some research for her paper came to find out that Vaughn was named after Benjamin Vaughn, who was a slave owner
Mm-hmm.
and opposed the abolishment of slavery. So that started us down a whole nother path. Like, whoa, huh? So we changed our name immediately. We put out
Mm-hmm.
a press release. We condemned the name. We asked for the city of Vaughan to change the name. we were instrumental. We were part of the coalition that got Vaughan Secondary School, Dufferin and Steeles, to change the name to Hodan Alea Secondary School. We were
Mm-hmm.
very adamant, one of the groups in there that actually were successful in getting this name changed. Um, and we had our protest. We drew over 300 people in York Region. We marched from the police station on Rutherford all the way to Vaughan Mills and held a rally. Then
Mm-hmm.
we held the intersection of Jane and Rutherford for 7 minutes.
Oh.
We held it, nobody was going nowhere. As much as it was frustrating to everybody in traffic, and yes, that's what we live with every day. So that little inconvenience will give you a taste, a grain of what we go through every day as Black people in the lives that we're living, right? And the danger that we face every day. So Black Lives for Change now, how many years later, now we are a group, we're still doing anti-Black racism protesting, but for the most part now we're focusing on programming. We have a Christmas fundraiser, a holiday fundraiser that we do a backpack drive in September. Typically we do things for Black History Month, so we have 28 days of Black excellence. We've had focused on Black excellence around the world, Black excellence in Canada, um, things like that. We did Black authors all last year.
Mm-hmm.
We do things for Women's Day. So we're a group that, as you get older and you get busier and things get in the way. But we're trying to stay together, stay focused on what it is that we wanted to do, because so many other groups from 2020 are not no longer exist.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
some due to the hype of it dying down, so now they're out and on to the next thing, or some others because life just got in the way. And we're fighting against that. You know, there's a group of
Mm-hmm.
four of us. Two of us are Black, and two of the other members are non-Black.
Mm-hmm.
But they're committed to social justice and the abolishment of anti-Black racism.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying our best to stay together and continue the good work that we're doing, because it's important. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just up to us to make the time and continue to get the support from the community that we've been getting in the past.
Yeah. 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 And it's the same with life. You tend to evolve when things, the beginning and then to this stage, it's about evolution and also transformation because you guys were, for lack of a better word, you guys were cocoons.
Yes. Yes. And
And now,
we're coming up.
yes. And so you are adding more, not only, for instance, being there and advocating on the streets, but also enriching people with the knowledge and the history, practicality, and the voice to be able to go stand on their own
Yeah.
if you guys are not around. So that is wonderful, and that's also part of legacy building. You know.
Yes, exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so important to me. I think ownership of your own things, doing the good work, all of those things are things that I need to leave for my children. So
Mm-hmm.
something about me realized that I couldn't necessarily work for people because I had too many grand ideas. And sometimes people are limited either by funding, maybe by their own thoughts, maybe by pressures from the community. And I'm going to say how I feel. So I'm going to do what I feel is right, you know? And so um, having my own group, having my
Mm-hmm.
different organizations and different businesses was very important to me, because I can help you build your dream, your legacy, but it will never
Mm-hmm.
be mine. It will never be something that I will be able to impart to my children. And that's important. So for me, having my ideas, and you need people to work with. There's no doubt about
Yes.
it. You need a community to do
Mm-hmm.
anything. So my idea is you bring people who have the same ideas as you. They help you build your dream. And when it's time for them to go, they go. And when they are building their thing, you lend your support to them as well. Your wisdom, your knowledge, your support just as a person,
Mm-hmm.
to help them build theirs, and so
Mm-hmm.
forth and so forth and so forth. You pay it forward, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. 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 So, like right now, you live in the GTA.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like around which area of the GTA does a lot of your work revolve?
So a lot of my work revolves around Toronto as right now. The Black Lives for Change was York region focused, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the work I was working for an organization in Toronto where we were working on community violence and community safety. So that's how I really got familiar with Louis March and the work that he was doing, and that's where I met
Mm-hmm.
him. I would say 2 or 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and began doing the work. As I said, I'm for everybody Black and anything that helps Black people. So while I was working in Toronto, that took the form of um, zero gun violence. That took the route of
Yes.
community safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking after people's just basic needs to
Mm-hmm.
survive, right? And so, yeah, the work that I do right now with Roots of Empowerment is all of it's an Ontario-wide thing, eventually a Canada-wide, and then a worldwide thing. But right now, we are in a Toronto school. We are working with the TDSB to bring our
Mm-hmm.
programming to more schools
Okay.
within Toronto. Mhm.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Cool, cool, cool. So, in line with what we're talking about, what systematic changes do you believe are most crucial for achieving some form or sense of racial equity?
So when we
Remember,
talk about
I did not say equality because
yes,
there is this thing which has been there for a long time that we are chipping at slowly and gradually. So let me leave you a question for you.
yeah. So equality and equity are two different things.
Yes.
Equal seems like equality means that everyone gets the same treatment no matter what. Equality looks at the different factors and the different intersectionalities and determines what makes things level or gives people an opportunity to get something that they typically wouldn't get due to
Mm-hmm.
the society that they live in. Right? It's two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people don't truly understand that. And then it becomes a thing where personally, when we're looking at systemic racism, how where do we start? Like it's such an overwhelming thing because when you think you've made one step forward, then somebody has pushed you back four, you know? And so you think, okay, cool. Um, Great work. The school boards have now realized they've accepted that their practices have been racist towards Black people. You've accepted anti-Black racism. Thank you. Great. Now you've put in place or given people positions within the school board that are superintendents of equity, diversity and inclusion. And in theory, they're supposed to be able to help others. They're supposed to be able to help Black people. But when the system itself has no intention of actually changing, putting a figurehead there, putting a token there, putting somebody who just wants to fit the status quo there doesn't do anything. It's all performative.
Toffee.
Aha. Something sweet, something small for the boys, something small for the boys, you know? So a distraction to make people think that they actually want change when they actually have no intention. What we need to understand as Black people is the master will never give you tools to dismantle his home, ever. Ever, 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 ever. So often we're talking about how do we dismantle systemic racism, anti-Black racism. Hi, let's build our own stuff. Let's stop this. I'm so over it. As I was telling you, I even want to move to Ghana because the things that I'm seeing here, it's very defeating. Like it makes you feel defeated. Like I said, you move one step forward and they push you back four, because ultimately they're working just as hard as us to uphold what's going on. They just have to
Yes.
become more
Yes.
creative about how they do it because
Yes.
now calling somebody racist is even worse than being racist now, you know. So
Yes.
so for me, we need to build our own things. I have a mentor. His name is Victor Bosoli, like a brilliant man. He actually lives in
Mm-hmm.
Ghana. He's not a Ghanaian. He was not Ghanaian by birth, but he is in Ghana with his family, beautiful four children and his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and he is doing the work through SETSI, so social inclusion through inclusion, I think social,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's called SETSI, but he um an amazing man doing the great work, giving us opportunities for Black people to come in and find our voices. He said we need to think about farming. We need to think about owning our own grocery stores. We need to think about our own financial institutions. We need to think about education. We need to think about being lawyers. We need to think about being God. We have to have our own for our own. We're the only ones who can care for ourselves the way we need to be cared for. We understand ourselves. We want to help ourselves for the most part. So we need to stop all this. Let's dismantle this system and da da da. Keep it. You can't keep it. Fa. It's not for me. Fa.
You know what he's saying, in a sense, what I can gather from it is that you are wasting your energy.
Yes. Yes.
Aha.
Yes.
You have gone into somebody's farm and you want to say cut down whatever that they've grown.
Yes.
So instead of wasting your time trying to cut down what they've grown, eat from that farm. Wankasankasa koye wefu.
Cool. Yeah,
Go,
with you.
yes.
What?
Go farm your own farm. so
Uh-huh.
that you can eat from your farm.
Yes.
It's so and also I think the other thing is it brings to mind one Dr. Suarez that I interviewed. It's like sowing seeds in somebody's garden.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. They'll let
So
you eat small. They will let you take small, but at the end of the day, they
yes,
still own it. The
they
day they
still
decide
own it.
they won't allow you to collect anymore, what will you do?
What would you do? So
Ah.
we better learn how to sow seeds in our own garden. And I will tell you this, my dear. I am glad I started this podcast because invariably it's opened my eyes and my ears and my heart to many of our challenges and the different um, knowledge and wisdoms out there. The persons such as yourself that I never knew was doing the work, but is really mind, body, and soul is in the trenches
Oh, I'm
doing
telling
the
you.
work.
Yeah.
So I admire you for that. I truly, truly admire you for that. And keep it up. Keep it
No, I
up.
appreciate
It's
that.
beautiful.
It's my
Hmm.
personal mission. I felt lost a couple years ago, and I realized that everything I've done in the past 10 years has something to do with benefiting Black people or uplifting Black people. My focus is Black people. That's my passion, that's my vision, that's my mission. And so, like I said, whatever form that takes is whatever I'm going to do in order to achieve that. And so in Ghana, I'm doing the work, in order to build things there, um, to potentially, hopefully, get into government, to get into positioning in within government politics, to actually make change there. It's a different fight in Africa. Here we're looking at anti-Black racism. There we're fighting a whole different battle. But
I,
advocacy is there.
advocacy is important. And you don't need to take this as this is just government conversation that has come in. I would say that the best way to do your fight is outside the government,
Okay.
not within.
Okay.
And we can deliberate more on that later on, off
Yeah, we
air,
definitely have to have a
but not
conversation.
on air.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
will tell
open to
you,
hearing. Like I'm a person that, like, I want to hear different opinions. I have my own opinion. I don't know everything. I haven't experienced
that is
everything.
right.
Tell me, let's talk about it. You
So
know?
let's let the Ghanaians be for the time being,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because otherwise the whole conversation
Will change. The
will
Ghanaian politics is a
change.
different, a different
you
realm.
you see how the Ghana vibe is resurrecting in me right now.
Yeah,
Oh
yes,
yeah,
yes,
calm down small.
yes. I got you. I got you.
Oh
To be
my
continued
goodness.
off air. We got you.
To be continued, yes.
Yes.
So let's get to this idea of equity, diversity, and inclusion in society, and perhaps some businesses, because as Black people in Canada, uh, either we immigrated here or born here, like yourself, you've
Yeah.
connected through these businesses and society. Like, um, how would you define true equity? We did touch on equity.
Yeah.
How would you define true equity, and what does it look like in practice, in
What would
your
I do?
view?
Yeah. So equity to me would be understanding that typically this is how you do something. And so these are the people who do not benefit from this system and how it's been going. And therefore, we need to take another look at these people or those making those decisions on those people. Do you get what I mean? Because I feel like there's an attack on equity, and people don't really understand because equity is not just a Black thing. Like, I don't think people get that. Like, I think people
I,
think that it's attached to the Black community, and that's all. Like, DEI, it's not just for Blacks. Like, it's
I
not.
think the reason why people think it's that way because we champion it,
Yes.
because Black people push and champion it. And
Yeah.
this is my take, and it may be biased, but this is my take. Just like the civil rights movement, Black people, blood, sweat, tears, fought and championed it.
Hmm.
But many more people, other
Yeah.
than Black people, are the benefits of it.
Are we shocked?
It is the same thing as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
We did champion diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you go to places, you see diversity. But the idea of diversity in our present day Tim Hortons, for instance, and I'm going to use that, has become just one group of people
Yeah.
that is representative there. So, whereby in the past you see, say, an Indian, Chinese, Black, white, that representation of a diverse community, it's become just one block of community people represented
Yep.
there. So it's the face of DEI has become more of Black people championing it, but the
The
beneficiaries
beneficiaries is a different group, and it's typically white women or other groups.
or other groups. And when we bring it back to anti-Black racism, and this is one of the conversations that we had, and other groups, because they still have a racial bias of Blackness, colorism, who's on top. When you remove the Caucasian, the
There's
rest
still
of
a
the
hierarchy, and we are at
yes,
the very bottom of that. And
yes, yes,
that's what I want people to understand. So when we say, I work for an advocacy group that we are fighting the school boards and other institutions for Black students, right? So whenever students face anti-Black racism, we go in and we have meetings with the school boards who are ignoring the parents and all these other things. And one of the biggest thing is they love to say BIPOC community, or we were going to do anti-racism training. It's not the same thing, because Black people, it's been proven, we are at the bottom of the totem pole. Every other group of people believe that they are higher than us and want to associate themselves with whiteness, right? And it, like in whatever proximity they can get to whiteness. So because we are the furthest from that, we are at the bottom, right? And so there's a lot of things where people say, "Well, I'm not racist. I'm not racist because I'm not white. How can I be racist?" That doesn't mean anything. That means nothing at all. You know, it's still this idea that Black people are lesser than, that's been instilled by the oppressors, people who even oppressed you. Now you've aligned more with them than with others being oppressed,
yes,
and then you become the oppressor of the
yes,
oppressed, right?
yes,
And so DEI to me, it's a tricky thing, because DEI means being a woman. DEI means maybe you have a disability. DEI
yes,
means the color of your skin. DEI
yes,
means all of these other things that, like you said, because we've
yes,
championed it, has become a Black thing, and so it's
yes.
under attack. We're
And
not the
it's
ones
not a Black
benefiting.
thing.
It's not a Black thing. We're the ones
Yes,
fighting the fights, and
yes.
that's why you see often now, like, yeah, go ahead.
Now we're talking about this DI thing, and I was thinking, for instance, that if there is a company that has all male, you know, um, I don't know, male tech gurus, and there are female tech gurus as well, but the hiring committee is all men, and they're
Yeah,
thinking, oh, the woman will call in sick, will get a menstrual
we'll
cramp, will
get
do this,
pregnant, we'll
will get
leave.
pregnant, will leave. So why don't we get in more of the men that will not leave and have a boys club or something like that? So this is where DEI comes in. Is that okay? You do have only men. It doesn't matter whether there's only Black men or there's only white men or there's a combination of Black and white men. It's only
Men.
men.
Okay. Wow.
Now, we need women, because women think differently, see things differently, lead differently.
Hmm.
So this is where DEI comes in. That okay, for instance, if a company is going to expand, in your next expansion, if you are going to hire 10 technology or whatever they do, IT professionals, you need to add women to it. And
Yeah.
this is how it looks like. There has to be about 7 women, because we are looking at 2 women in leadership positions, 2 women in this position, 3 women in this position, and then the rest can be men. And these women are equally equipped,
So
or
that's the piece.
probably more.
More. So this is the part that I want to harp on. It is that piece. We're not asking you to put somebody in this position that they don't deserve, or they're not a educated for, or do not have the experience for. In fact, oftentimes those people that you dismiss have the same level or
Or
more
more.
education or experience than those who typically get those positions. So that's
Yes.
also the misnomer about all of these things, that it's being, you're giving people jobs that don't deserve it.
Yes.
No, that's not the case. In fact, typically those in those jobs already, they didn't deserve it, in the sense that they were given this because they held one intersectionality, right? They
Yes.
were a man, so they got it over a woman, right?
Mhm.
They might have gone, had the same education qualifications, but she might have more experience. But you will take him because he's a man and he's more
Yes.
like you than anything else.
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are the things that people need to think about when we're talking about DEI. We're asking you to do the right thing, to
Yes.
consider people on an even playing level field, or even consider those that you typically throw away because you don't feel like personally your own bias will not allow you to see them for all that they could offer to your company, to your business. And what
Mm-hmm.
people don't get is those companies who actually have DEI initiatives are doing better because
Yes.
it is typically people who are more qualified, who are better at doing the jobs. You win, you benefit. So
You
you need
do
to think
benefit
about it.
from diversity, different views, different angles, different experiences. It brings a lot of transformation and ingenuity into a business or an organization.
Absolutely.
It is very true. It is very true.
Absolutely. And I think we have to get away from this thought process that even women, like the
Hmm.
world is scared of an educated Black woman. I think we're the most feared, most disrespected, and we are overlooked either because they feel we can't do the job or they feel like we'll do the job better or too well. And then that
Um,
too doesn't make sense to me, you know?
it wouldn't make sense to you, but then when you look at historically, Black women in our history, look at their leadership in
Yeah.
a lot of fights
Yeah.
for
Yes, Antua.
freedom,
Yes, Antua.
from
Let's go.
Yasatua to
Mm.
Nzinga to
Yes.
the the oh, I just forgot the name, to the Queen Nannies of the Maroons and
Yes.
everything. Yes. So we do have a lot of Black women that have pushed for the freedom of us as a group. And also, within the period of enslavement, it became very glaring that anything that has to do with the race in terms of Black people, it's the Black woman that you need to attack first. If
Yes.
they are able to destroy the motherhood, then you are able to destroy every aspect. If you're able to control the Black woman, then you can control the children,
Absolutely.
and then you can control
The
the
men.
husbands,
Hmm.
yes. So when you were saying that, I was thinking there is an unwritten code, or there is also that knowledge that the most feared person is a Black woman. We will
Yep.
stand in front. Yes,
Yes. Yep. I do think that you're right. It's a very calculated effort.
it
So
is.
as much as it's annoying to me, I'll say I don't understand. I do get it. It's a very calculated, premeditated, uh, coordinated attack that
But
is happening, you
and
know?
and historically also, they made us that in the sense that never saw the Black woman as a woman per
Yes.
se.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
your womanhood, your femininity was taken away. It
Yeah.
was only quote unquote given if and when they needed something.
Yes.
So
Yep.
we need to bear in mind all these historical
Con-
biases that
Yeah.
have crept up, that we are living it without really consciously thinking about it. But when you become very conscious of the historical narratives and how it's impacting us today, we can, help break some of these mindsets and biases in community. Hey.
That's exactly why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking in terms of, yeah,
Hmm.
these systems are meant to hold us back because they know what we're capable of. So stop trying to
Yes.
operate within these systems. Keep it. You can keep it. Create our own. This is historical. This is, you're talking about centuries of calculated attack
Yes.
and coordination and at every level. And so
You know why I was laughing? Something popped into my head and I was laughing. There is this I've forgotten this man's name, African man who was talking about the grandmother. It's artificial intelligence that came to mind. That's why I was laughing.
okay,
There was this African man talking about his grandmother, that when his grandmother says, I haven't seen my son in a long time, my son has to visit, you know, within that week, you see that the son has come to visit, truly. And he said that's artificial intelligence. Before it
ish.
became,
It's the power.
that's the power.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the power that they need to nip in the bud.
yeah. It's true. I'm not surprised at all.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's get to African royalty, back to African royalty
Yeah.
and beyond. It's like, what does African royalty mean to you? and beyond the heritage and the titles. And I know we kind of
Talked about it a bit, but
a little
African,
bit, yeah.
yeah, African
Mm-hmm.
royalty is an expression of
Yeah.
who I am as a person. I am African royalty. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking around, I have my earrings on. I have the Jinami actually tattooed on me. I have the
So talk about your earrings since you are telling
Yeah,
us you
okay.
got
So I
your
have the
earring.
Jinami. So this is actually tattooed on over my heart.
Yeah.
The reason why Jinami meaning only God. So the way I've interpreted it is only God can judge me, only God can lead me, only God can show me the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's a deeper spiritual thing, in that
Mm-hmm.
everything I do, I must do through God.
Mm-hmm.
And God is whoever you believe him to be. So whatever designation you take, right? Whether that's
Mm-hmm.
Islam, Christianity, Judaism, whatever it is, like I channel God in the sense that this is a higher being that's looking out for me, that guides my heart, that gives me morals to live by, that makes sure that everything I do, I'm doing from pureness and a kindness standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and gives me the fire I need in order to keep going every day. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I tattooed it on me. So it will be with me for the rest of my life,
Mm-hmm.
because it meant that much to me. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so in everything I am, if you ask anybody who knows me, they know I'm a Ghanaian. So here's the thing though, the language. While I understand most, I can't speak well. So when I go to Ghana, they're ha, what did she? Ha, your parents they didn't do well. Oh, what's Mikachi? Oh, I said I understand she kakra kakra, right? And I'm conversational to some degree. I have to mix
Yes.
my brufo in it, but um, it's important to me to reconnect with all that. And so while I'm teaching others about their culture, I'm also learning, right?
Yes.
My children are mixed. So they're Jamaican and Ghanaian, and my fear was that they would lose their Africanness. This is not something I was thinking about when I met their dad. Something awoke in me maybe when I was 19 or so, I believe, in terms of not just being black, but knowing I'm black, understanding what that meant.
I don't think your children will lose their Africanness if you decide to teach them their roots both in Jamaica and in Ghana, because those
Yes,
two countries are
so they're one. They're one.
very
Yeah.
merged
Yeah.
together. So there's a lot of linkages
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
they need to be taught.
Yeah.
If they eat ackee and saltfish, you
Yeah.
teach them ackee came from Ghana
Yes.
to
Yes.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're
Uh-huh.
we're we're in it. Like my kids have been. My son is going to be 14 this year. He's been to Ghana 3 or 4 times. He spent his first birthday there. While I've given him, his name is Jeremiah. I've given him his Ghanaian name. So he's born on Thursday. So he's Nana Yaa. So Nana Yaa Yeboaa Leslie Tekyi-Annan. Right. So all of them have their names. Jasmine Nana Yaa, Thursday born, female version. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Shamima Diane Tekyi-Annan. Juliet James Akuya Tekyi-Annan. So like I've given them their name so they identify, they go back. I was there in the summer with them, with my daughters, and they're outside
Mm-hmm.
playing with the local kids, speaking
Of
Chi,
course.
coming to teach me songs. We have our songs, zombies, they're the ones coming to teach me. And I'm like, okay. And I love it. I love it. And part of me wanting to move back is part like me wanting them. Children are sponges. So if I'm
Yes.
not careful, they're coming to speak cheat to me and I won't understand, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm okay with that because I want them to connect with their heritage, know who they are from the beginning.
The other thing also is that speaking tree with your children in North America is a conscious effort
Yes,
as a
absolutely.
parent,
Absolutely.
because 99.99% they speak English
Mhm.
all around.
Yeah.
Your effort is the 0.1%
Yes.
that you need to make your home a tree speaking home.
Yes.
So I always say whether the tree will somersault or it will skate or whatever it is going to do,
Try. Oh.
try. Broken
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah.
The
That's the tree I'm
more,
speaking to my children. The broken cheese.
yes,
What I'm speaking to them now.
the more you try, the
Yeah.
better they become.
Yeah.
But if you don't try, then you lose the language. And when you lose the language, you lose part of the culture,
Part of your
customs,
identity.
and the traditions in it. Yes. So
Absolutely.
we carry our cultures with us and our identities with us in the language or languages we speak. Yes.
Absolutely.
Because there are nuances within the languages that, people, you pick up.
You pick up, but that's what I'm struggling with. So when I'm in Ghana, people are speaking the way I learned Chi. Like my parents tried with my older sister, and it kind of slowed down her speech. So they kind of made a conscious decision not to. And I think that was maybe just her.
That's a lie.
Oh, is that okay? Well, that's
That was a big lie.
okay.
One of those of us who lived in Ghana went to school but speak two other languages because of where we live.
Yeah, yeah, but
That was a misconception
yeah,
here, that because you speak in your native,
yeah.
your for lack of a better word, your indigenous language, you cannot learn English properly. You can learn it.
We see it. We see it with everybody else, like other cultures that have their children. And it's to me, I think when I really think about it, I feel like this is something that maybe the institution imposed on my parents and they just took. Do you get what I mean? Um, because they started with her. She's about a year and a half older than me. And from because they tried it with her, it didn't work. It just wasn't a thing. So while they speak Chi to each other, while they're on the phone speaking to their brothers and sisters and everything on the phone, uh, it wasn't made a point. And I keep wondering why. But I think I have to stop like questioning about that. They thought other things were more important at the time. So and they've done well. They've done well for us. So I can't blame them for it.
But
All I can do
remember,
is
they're also going through a learning period,
coming to a new country by
coming
themselves.
to a new
Nobody's
country.
here.
Yes.
It's a lot.
So that's a lot. They've gone through a lot of challenges you and I did had didn't have to go through,
Yeah.
right? So and they've made these provisions for you to be able to do your work, because based on that you see the lapses and the holes that needs to be filled, so that your children and your children's children don't fall into the same loopholes.
Absolutely. But they also gave me my love for Ghana. If not for them bringing us back, there's six of us in my family. You have to imagine one trip to Ghana. We're talking about $13,000, $14,000 for a trip. Okay, just getting tickets. So they've done well to make
Yes.
sure that if there's four of us and I'm the only one who has that connection to Ghana, like that, they still have done well because me now, I'm bringing that here. I'm going.
Yes.
My siblings are wondering like, what's over there that you're so interested in? Why are you
Yes.
always going? My kids too. Like we want to like they go, they come with me. So I feel like they've done well with what they had. And me speaking Chi now, the way I learned it, if you say a sentence, I've picked up three or four of the things you said, and then I'm creating the sentence in my head. So the
Yes.
nuances you're talking about, sometimes I miss it, and
Yes.
I don't get it because like there's a crucial piece that I missed. Do you get what I mean?
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say I'm conversational, but for the most part I understand. And then when I speak to my pronunciation is and yeah, so I'm working on
No,
it. That's something I need to
I
focus.
wouldn't say and yet, because
Mhm.
when you say that, you've already defeated yourself.
Okay, I hear you. Stay
You
positive. Keep
stay
trying.
positive. Whether the conversation is the pronunciation is as per your Canadian accent.
Ah. But you see, Ghanaians, when you're speaking to them, something they be like, huh? Huh? And then when somebody else says, I say, hey, isn't that what I just said? And they're like, oh, you didn't say. I said, come on, you have to
And
try. You have to try.
then you tell them say Jawasam. And on
Yeah,
that
like
note,
try small. Ah,
say
like they didn't want to
Jawasam.
hear me. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Jawasam.
yeah, but it's
That's
very
bad
important.
advice.
It's you will see what they would say, but it's very important to me. Like that's everything.
Yeah.
So that's one
Mhm.
piece that maybe I will definitely focus on in the next upcoming years because as I'm teaching others to love their culture, language is part of it, and I
Yes.
can't want that for others and I don't have it myself.
Mhm.
And like you can learn at any age, right? It might be
Yes.
more, it might be harder at this point, but learning is learning. Learning happens throughout your life, and so I just have to be more intentional about learning it,
Yeah.
and immersing myself in it. So as
Yes.
African royalty is, I am her. I wear my kente prints, my Ankara prints. I have like if I show you my closet, I have my suits. I have for every event. When I'm hosting events, you can better believe I'm coming there with my Ankara prints, with my fish scale, my kente,
Hey,
something. You will see me. If I've even started wearing gale, like I'm
hey,
coming
it's not
to let you know.
easy. It's
Ha!
not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Hey,
Not
unye easy.
yo.
Yo, what's
Okay?
So
By force,
my
you will know I'm African and everything I represent. That's who I am. That's who
Efia
I
Tekyi-Annan,
Yes,
hey,
that's
Annan
me.
4.
I am here. I hear.
Is your Annan Ga Annan or
Fanti,
Fante Annan?
Fanti. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So my dad is
Means
Fanti. My mom is Ashanti.
hey,
Yeah.
Asante Fante Aware.
Yes. Can you imagine? The work
Hey,
my dad had to do. The work my dad
hey,
had to do. Ashanti people are very proud people. So the work my dad had to do.
No, it's in the history.
It
The
is.
Ashantis and Fantis never really got along,
Yes.
because of the coastal trade with the Portuguese. And if you know the war, Comantin Abanze, there was a big war there. It was between the Fantis and the Ashantis. The Ashantis wanted to take control over the coast.
Okay.
Ah,
And the Fantis who are there, we're not having it either.
we're
That
not having it.
they're like,
They had backup from the Portuguese,
yeah,
then, yeah. And
yeah.
so now between the Fantis and the Ashantis is a big thing.
Wahala.
Hey. And we also have these cultural biases that
Yeah.
Fantis are book long, Ashantis are like, very proud people.
Yeah. The
If we
tribalism is crazy, but
if we talk about branding and self-marketing, go to Ashanti region. They
yes, they will
they
show
live
you
and
how
breathe
to be
it.
proud. Yeah. How proud they are of themselves and everything they're doing. I
Yes.
know. I
So,
know.
Mami, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Where can people connect with you and learn more about the work you do in the community?
Well, so I have multiple streams. My email is info@rootsofempowerment.org.
Hmm.
Um, you can connect with me there. On Instagram, my African royalty. And let me like message me if you want to work with me, if you have any advice. Um, if you are trying to immerse yourself in your own culture, if your children need that, um, I'm the one to reach out to. I
Hey.
have that experience. I'm a diasporan, but identify more with being Ghanaian than anything else.
Hmm.
And so yeah, my organization really is meant to help Black youth
Hmm.
affirm their identities as Africans. And so you can reach out to me there, email or Instagram, or on LinkedIn, Efia Tekyi-Annan.
Yes, that is where we connected
Yes, and I'm
on
so appreciative. I'm thankful
LinkedIn.
for you. I'm thankful for you.
Thank you so much, guys. You have been listening into or watching us on YouTube on the Nana Yaa Yeboaa podcast with Efia Tekyi-Annan. Oh my
Yes,
goodness,
yes,
brilliant young social entrepreneur and advocate and cultural leader. She says she is that and many more. So
many more. Wear lots of hats, lots of
she
hats, lots of.
wears a lot of hats, and I am so happy for you. I'm just waiting for the next 5 to 10 years, what you have up your sleeves for
Yes,
our community.
yeah. Trust me, I appreciate you.